15 minutes time to present their presentations. And after that, there will be a question round. If anybody want to put the questions, they can put the questions after each presentation. So they have to mind the time, 15 minutes for every presentation. And I hope all the 5 presenters are ready here. Can I ask them to raise their hands? Betty Pudiastuti, Aulia Ul Hafiza, okay, Narendra Yoga Hendarta, Sicha Anindya Vikasono, and Unita Sabrina. Nice. Okay.
So now we come to the first sessions of oral presentation. So I would like to invite Dr. Hanggoro Tririnonce, PhD, to be moderator. Dr. Hanggoro is teaching staff at Department of Anatomic Pathology. And Dr. Hanggoro, the time is yours.
Thank you very much, Master of Ceremony. Good afternoon, everybody. Today we have a maybe very interesting moment. We have 5 presenters with very interesting topic. We'll discuss and also hear together. First presentation is by Dr. Betty Pudiastuti from Department of Pharmaceutics, Faculty of Pharmacy, Universitas Gadjah Mada. The time for presentation is 10 minutes and then followed by discussion session for 5 minutes. So please, I will invite Dr. Betty Pudiastuti. Please, the time is yours. Di sana. Please start.
Thank you for the time. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Betty Pudiastuti. I am from Faculty of Pharmacy, University of Gadjah Mada. I am a pharmacist. And then, first of all, I would like to say apologies if my English speech is not very well, little medok. But it's nice to me to present my research. The entitle is Formula Optimization of Pentagamma-Funon O Transdermal Matrix using simplex lattice design with a combined polymer of PVV-K30 and HPMC. This is a structure molecular of Pentagamma-Funon O. It's a synthetic substance that there is a one of derivative of curcumin have an activity as an anti-inflammatory and antibacterial agent, and then this is a molecular weight of Pentagamma-Funon O. It have a log P of octanol octanol water is 1.84. It means that solubility of Pentagamma-Funon and octanol is more better than in water. The other research show that in Pentagamma-Funon is insoluble in water, but soluble in methanol and ethanol 96%. For oral delivery system, it is hard because it high intensity of first mass metabolism of PG-phenol, P-pentagamafunon. So we must have a alternative route for transdermal route administration of pentagamafunon O. This is for this reason. One of the alternative is transdermal matrix, and one of a component in formula that have influence to physicochemical or properties of matrix transdermal is HPMC, is metric polymer, and in this research we combine HPMC and PVV as a metric polymer of transdermal metric PG-phenol because of some advantages of their polymer. HPMC is good, yet a clear phylum that and has a good swelling, so it can face the drug release from the matrix. And then PVV is have a function as a performer. She could form a pore in matrix, so the drug can release from the matrix more easier than without PVV. And then other function is antinucleating that prevent crystallization of a drug in matrix. Concentration between 2 until 10% could increase solubility and absorption of PG-phenol. And then combination of HPMC and PVV was reported as a matrix in clopidogrel bisulfate, replagrinide, and ondansetron HCl. This is an objective of my research. First is to determine the effect of combined polymer of PVV K30 and HPMC to the physical-chemical characteristic and the release profile of PG-phenol from the matrix. And then we also have to optimize the formulation of PG-phenol transdermal matrix. This is an outline of my method. First, we determine the formula by SLD. Mixture design of simplex lattice design is helped by using design expert software, and then we have eight run formula, and we did a formulation process of matrix until we have a dried matrix, and then we did evaluation of physicochemical property and drug release, also drug release. This is equipment for drug release test, and from the response that we got from evaluation, physicochemical properties, and drug release, we did it for optimization process with SLD2 by using design expert. And then we must did evaluation of optimum matrix. This is a matrix formula of simplex lattice design. It is 8 run. The formula consists of PG-phenol as a active ingredient in dose 0.8 milligram, and then propylene glycol as an enhancer and plasticizer in 10% from volume, and then we have PVV-K30 and HPMC as a polymer matrix, and the combination was determined by design expert, whereas PVV-K13 is in concentration 1.5 until 2.5%, and HPMC is 4 until 5%. The total of combination we use in design expert is 6.5%. This is a design expert appearance. There is a column for factor. Component 1 and component 2 is variable formula, component formula, and then this is a response column. This is a visual, and then weight, thickness, drug content, dissolution efficiency, moisture content, and moisture uptake. All of the formula result as shown here. Formula could result yellow and elastic matrix, except in run 8, it is unhomogeneous matrix. And then combination of PVV-K30 and HPMC give a significant effect to the visual appearance, moisture content, and release rate of PG-phenol as dissolution efficiency. And then response of weight, thickness, moisture uptake, and drug content were not significant. This is the trend line of significant response. The first is visual appearance, And then the second is for response percent moisture content, and the 3 is the response for dissolution efficiency or release rate of biphenyl from the matrix. And then based on the significant response, visual appearance, moisture content, and release rate of biphenyl O as a dissolution efficiency value, we analyze it with Design Expert version 7, and we have a superimpulse graph from this response, so we can got an optimum formula of matrix transdermal PG phenol. An optimum formula of PG phenol transdermal matrix contains 1.98% of PVVK30 and 4.52% of HPMC. Beside the optimum formula, we also got a predicted responses of optimum formula where 14.67 for visual appearance, 3.76 for moisture content, and 12.72% for dissolution efficiency. This is the result of optimum matrix. From physicochemical property, we got yellow, homogeneous, and elastic matrix, and then it has moisture content 3.21%, and from drug release profile, the profile is here. DE at 6 hours was 9.46%, indicating that 106.25 microgram of PG phenol was released from the optimum matrix during 6 hours. And then from my research, I have a conclusion that first, the combined polymer of PVVK13 and HPMC give a significant effect to the response visual appearance, moisture content, and dissolution efficiency of PG phenol from the matrix. And the second is the combination of 1.98% of PVVK13 and 4.52% of HPMC as the optimum formula could produce good visual appearance of the matrix of the transdermal matrix with moisture content of 3.21% and the dissolution efficiency of 9.46%. Thank you for the time and the attention. I hope you are enjoy my presentation and understand who I say, what I say.
Thank you very much for the excellent presentation. Is there any question from the audience? Please.
Okay, thank you for the time. I'm Ihsan. I'm a graduate student of biomedical science in here. And my question is, have you done your research in clinical level? For example, have you ever tried the formulation in rabbit, for example, or rats? And about the data, did you just using the expert design software or using the experience directly? Okay, thank you.
Please answer directly.
The in vivo test analysis for this matrix PG phenol transdermal matrix is did by my team, my friend. I'm just formula, and then this matrix, the optimum matrix was tested in with a membrane, artificial membrane, and skin rate from male skin rate Spegudeli, and then but it is in process, and the evaluation of the rate of release from matrix and transport to the transport to the skin, to the circular systemic is used WinSam for modeling compartment to ensure to determine the constant, the diffusion constant. But it's still in process of my friend.
Is there any comment?
From the experience of your friends' research, are between the result of your research and your others in research in vivo case show the same result with the result of your research?
I think I didn't to say it is same or not, but the other experience, the other result, so that the pentagamma Funon O was reported transport to this to the systemic in mencit is mice from mice skin in suspension solution, and I mean the research was did in dosage swap of solution and suspension of PG-phenol, and from the metric is didn't it, but from the drug release profile from the matrix, we hope it can transport to the circular systemic melewati straight into the skin, hopefully.
Okay, is there any question from the audience? Still have time? Please.
My name is Dewa Yari Murni. I'm also from Pharmacy Faculty, Universitas Gadjah Mada. I would like to know about the drug release profile. We can see from the dissolution efficiency from 6 hours that the drug is released approximately less than 10%. And then, why do you think it's a good release for a drug? Because it's only 100 of micrograms drugs who has been released from the matrix. I think it's not efficient from the for the transdermal, because the transdermal dosage from the drug must be released from the transdermal matrix. Must be more than 10%, I think. So why do you think it happened? Why? The reason, I would like to ask you about the reason why the dissolution efficiency only less than 10%. Thank you very much.
Please briefly answer.
Dissolution efficiency is describe a release rate of PG-phenol from the matrix. It is so just showing a value at 9.46%. It is a little. I know it is little, but this is because of I have a polymer matrix that can they are could inhibit the release profile of PG-phenol from the matrix, and then this is the explain for this release profile. But for in vivo or in vitro diffusion, we hope it can through the skin, but it is difficult. I know it is difficult because the PG-phenol is insoluble in water and more soluble in lipid, so it can deposit in lipid skin and have a little release to systemic system. But in my research, I hopefully it can be released because this is one of potential drug.
Okay, thank you very much. The time is up. Please give applause for the presenter. Thank you very much. For the second, I would like to invite Ms. Aulia Ul Hafizah from Faculty of Pharmacy, Gadjah Mada University. She will present the research entitled Formulation and Anti-Cholesterol Activity Evaluation of Extra Combination Curcuma xanthorrhiza rhizome and Ginura procumbens Merleaf self-non-emulsifying drug delivery system using virgin coconut oil as oil base. Please, the time is yours.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Our research about formulation and anti-cholesterol activity evaluation of extra combination Curcuma xanthorrhiza rhizome and Ginura procumbens Merleaf self-nano-emulsifying drug delivery system SNADS using virgin coconut oil as oil base. The introduction: bad lifestyle like consuming high cholesterol diet and less exercises, it would become hypercholesterolemia. Hypercholesterolemia is lipid metabolic syndrome which can lead to increased LDL, FLDL, total cholesterol, and decreased HDL level in blood. Several studies such as from Yuniarti and Ikawati show that extra combination of Curcuma xanthorrhiza and Ginura procumbens in ratio 75:25 could decrease total cholesterol up to 46.36% in rats. But the extract have low solubility that impact in low bioavailability. So we develop extract into SNADS form. SNADS form is self-nano-emulsifying drug delivery system. Is an isotropic mixture of oil, surfactant, and co-surfactant which quickly form nano-emulsion when introduced in water. SNADS can increase the solubility that impact in increased bioavailability. The method of this research is extract were purchased from Japa plant PT Tri Raharja. The solubility assay of combination extract in surfactant, co-surfactant, and oil is important thing to do because it's to choose appropriate surfactant, co-surfactant, and oils that extract have high solubility in its component. Ratio determination of surfactant, co-surfactant, and ratio determination of VCO in various ratio surfactant, co-surfactant mixture is using selected oil, surfactant, and co-surfactants. Formulation of SNADS using selected ratio based on turbidity test. Selected SNADS formula is based on drug loading measurement and droplet characterization that the best formula will continue into anti-cholesterol activity in vivo. The results, based on unpublished preliminary studies, the chosen oil is VCO or virgin coconut oil, twin 80 as surfactant, PEG, and propylene glycol as co-surfactant. And the determination of surfactant co-surfactant are showing in on the table that column with coloring in red is selected ratio. Determination of VCO in various ratio surfactant co-surfactant mixture. VCO dan surfactant co-surfactant ratio in 1:5 is a best selected ratio. Formulation of SNATs, VCO, surfactant and co-surfactant, mixture and vortex for 1 minute, sonicate for 5 minutes, incubate in water bath with 45 Celsius degrees for 5 minutes, and the turbidity test shown in the picture. The picture with low turbidity and high clarity is choose to next formula, and the formula E is not required for the next formula because the it has a high turbidity and low clarity. Formula this on the table. Based on data, formula D, twin 80 dan PEG mixture in ratio 3:1 and VCO in the ratio 5:1 was chosen to anti-cholesterol activity evaluation. Formula F is not required of SNATs because it forms nanoemulsion more than 5 minutes. Also, it has better transmittant percentage and track loading than formula D because the good SNATs tend to form a fine emulsion accidentally less than 5 minutes when introduced into water. Cholesterol activity assay in vivo for measurement of blood cholesterol level. Animals subjected 25 randomly selected male with star rats with weight range 200 gram, divide into 5 groups. Group 1 is conventional extract. Group 2 is SNATs group. Group 3 is positive control group with bisimvastatin, and group 4 is negative control with simvastatin with Aquades, and group 5 is normal group. Treatment group were given with large egg yolk duct and PTU. And then the normal group, which was given of distilled water and pellet for 17 days. The blood cholesterol level and treatment group except negative group was increased by 2 times cholesterol by 2 times compared to baseline dose. It was categorized as hypercholesterolemia. Aquades group, it was only 60.48%. The other treatment group include in hypercholesterolemia category, so induced sample conventional extra combination, SNATs, simvastatin, Aquades were given. The level of total cholesterol after induced by sample, based on the table, it shows that after formulation it's into SNAT, extra combination of curcuma xanthorrhiza and Ginura procumbens have better activity than the conventional group. Okay. Based on statistic one-way ANOVA, the anti-cholesterol activity in all groups were significantly different. The conclusion: the optimum formula SNATs containing twin 80 dan PEG mixture in ratio 3:1 and VCO in ratio of 5:1, which can load up to 200 milligram extract per 5 milliliter time needed to form nano-emulsion is like in slide, and SNAT of formula Santoriza and Ginura combination extract has better anti-cholesterol activity than the conventional one. Acknowledgement, thanks to Hibah Komprehensif Universitas Gadjah Mada tahun anggaran 2013 for support this research and PT Papros for partnership in this research. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the presentation. Is there any comment or question from the audience? Please.
I'm so sorry to ask again. It's because no other participant who want to ask a question to you. It's okay. From the background of your research, you are going to compare you say that the solubility of crude extract in natural form is not good in solubility to be compared to the SNAT's form, and you are going to count the clinical outcome of the SNAT's form of your combination of drugs. I would like to ask you about you use several some groups in your study with different level, but you don't show what is the best dosage who show the best clinical outcome on your research, and based on the pathway to drug development after the formulation state, we have to have a pharmacokinetic trial for first, but you didn't show the result of the pharmacokinetic profile of your combination of your SNAT's formulation before you are going to count to know the clinical outcome. You just compare two different formulation and they show the clinical outcome of cholesterol level. I think I would like to ask you: is there any previous research to show the pharmacokinetic profile of two combination of drug, either the crude extract in natural design and the SNAT's form? Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you to Mr. Ihsan for the long question, but I'll try my best to answer it. About the maximum doses is based on the sebelumnya previous research. The maximum dose is 100 milligram per 200 milligram in weight rates, and we only use one dose. That's the optimum doses, because we only want to approve that our formulation is have anti-cholesterol activity. But for next research, we will do the variation of doses, and for pharmacokinetic activity, we will do the next research too. Okay.
Still, okay. Is there any question? We still have 1 minute. Okay, please.
Okay, my name is Betty. I just want to ask a basic question. What is differences between SNAT and emulsion, and why we should to make it?
The differences between nano emulsion and emulsion is from the appearance. From the appearance, formula D and E, you can compare that D is nano emulsion and E is maybe micro emulsion or just conventional emulsion, and formula D is in nanometer scala size. Okay, size. And nano emulsion is based in solubility absorbed in our GI tract because it will it will avoid retention time in our gastric, so it will increase the rapidly absorption.
Okay, thank you very much for the presentation. The time is up. Please give applause for the presenter. For the third presentation, I would like to invite Narendra Yuka Hindarta from Department of Health Analysis, Health Polytechnic of Yogyakarta, Indonesia. Please, the time is yours.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I will present my study with title Green Tea, Camellia sinensis, decreased level of serum bilirubin total and activity of alkaline phosphatase white rags, status novoricus induced by carbon tetrachloride. Background: green tea. This nutrition is very hard, and most vital of injection in is antioxidant known as polyphenol. This polyphenol is form of from catechin polyphenol, 20 to 40% in extract solid. In other study, catechins have beneficial effect in prevention of cardiovascular disease, including LDL, oxidative susceptibility, serum lipid, and lipoprotein concentration. The recent studies, green tea can protect liver from oxidative stress induced by ethanol in oxidation, and extract can be reduced the risk of colorectal, pancreatic cancer, inflammatory disease, and muscular necrosis, and can be effective for treatment of obesity. Okay. Carbon tetrachloride is commonly used model for both acute and chronic liver injury in rodents or rat. Carbon tetrachloride causes hepatocyte injury that is characterized by centrilobular necrosis that is followed by hepatocyte fibrosis. The acute exposure exhibit accelerated liver injury, and the chronic exposure resulted in severe fibrosis in liver. Induction carbon tetrachloride increase LEP and bilirubin total level as biomarker of liver injury. The material and methods: the rat, it's about 2 months with weight 150 to 200 gram, female, and green tea, local product, feed using chicken feeding, PR2. Okay. preparation to get infusion of green tea with steeping or swagging green tea. This amount of green tea was swagged with a volume of boiled water for 10 minutes, then separated to get Aquinas extract. Okay. Sorry. Okay. This is a formula for my study. Okay, it's a day with once a day in the morning for 40 day. Okay. This is the road of study. The first, we have 25 rats. It's adapted for a week with standard feeding PR2, and then randomized into 5 groups, and 4 groups as negative or normal control, and the other groups as positive control, and treatment 1, treatment 2, and treatment 3. For treatment, it get oral administering daily up to 40 days. Then at the day 50, it will inject carbon tetrachloride 1 milliliter per kilogram body weight. And the last, at a later day, we blood sampling and we test LAP activity and serum bilirubin total. This is the treatment. This is the route of treatment. Okay. The analysis, LAP and serum bilirubin total using alkali phosphatase as a kit for LAP and Gendrasik and growth dialysis kit for bilirubin total. In this instrument, it studied dan at Pusat Antar Universitas UGM Yogyakarta. The result we can see in this one, negative control. We can see it had level of LAP 40, in positive control about 90, and the treatment in treatment 1 and 1.25 gram per kilogram body weight, it has level about 75 and decrease until the last in 5 gram per kilogram body weight, about 46. We test the significancy using one-way ANOVA test. It's on the P less than 0.01. It could be a significant. Okay. This is a chart of the treatment. Okay. Bilirubin serum total, we can see treatment can decrease the bilirubin serum total, approach the negative control or normal control about 1.11, and one-way ANOVA test, so this is a significant value. Okay. This is the chart of treatment of the level of bilirubin total. Okay, discussion. We can see the Achonas green tea extract significantly decrease LAP and bilirubin total level in white red, where it's induced by carbon tetrachloride. It showed hepatocollective ability, and catechins and polyphenol in green tea have beneficent effect to antioxidant from free radical inflammation for protecting from cell damage. Okay, the conclusion, Achonas green tea extract had hepatoprotective ability significantly decreased ALP and bilirubin total level white red induced with carbon tetrachloride. Okay. This is differences. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much for the nice presentation. First, I would like to ask you, did you sacrifice the rat and examine the liver specimen for histopathology? I'm sorry. I asked to you, did you sacrifice the rat and then examine the liver specimen for histopathology examination? So only in the blood examination.
Okay. Yes. This is we use blood sampling, and then we test the level of LEP and level of bilirubin total using a kit, and we get this. Get this result.
Okay, the audience, is there any question?
Thank you very much. My name is Yunita Sabrina from Mataram University. I wonder why about the dosage. Okay. How much dose that you use? Is it really 5 gram per kilogram body weight? Because if we apply it in humans, so it's really huge. So is it really gram or milligram? I just want to know. And maybe from my friends, there is one question. Why do you choose ALP, not choosing the SGOT or SGPT as early? If there is a injury in hepat, there will be increases. That's all. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much for the question. I use this dosage. This is dosage for rat, and if we convert to human, we can. This is okay. If a human have about 50 kilogram, we can convert to 5 times 50, about 1 ounce. Okay. And this is it's too more for human. Okay, but the other way to get it, we can use with the other form. Example, for the expand, we can use extract from with a form of granular, and we can soak to water easily. Okay. This the other question about why I use LEP for this study. The other study use SGOP to access the ability or function of liver. And LEP this is a biomarker for condition of liver, and this is show the viability of cell. If cell is disrupted or damaged, the LEP will spread to the blood, and this show the condition of cell of liver.
Okay, is there any question? Please.
Thank you. My name is Rati. I want to ask you, why did you choose female rats, whereas many of research prefer to use male mice to avoid a hormonal effect? Thank you.
Okay. The other study use male rats, but in my study use a female, and this is I found a journal use like this use female, but I don't know why that use female, but this that question called to hormonal in the female. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you for the answer. I think I have some opinion and suggestion to you. I think your result will be more interesting if you also sacrifice the rat and then examine the liver specimen for the histopathology. You can examine the fibrosis and then the inflammatory process to prove that the green tea have protection effect of to liver. Thank you very much. The time is up, and please give applause for the presenter. For the fourth presentation, I would like to invite Pisa Anindya Wicaksono. She will present research entitled Formulation of Ribosome Inactivating Protein Mirabilis Jalapa L Nanoparticle Using Alginate and Low Viscose Chitosan Conjugated with Anti-EpCAM Antibody. Please, the time is yours.
I'm sorry, could you please help me to operate this? I'm sorry for the inconvenience. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. In this good opportunity, I would like to present our research, which titled Formulation of Ribosome Inactivating Protein from Mirabilis jalapa leaves, a nanoparticle using alginate and low viscosity chitosan conjugated with anti-EpCAM antibody. So basically, some of us might have heard about the RAP, or ribosome inactivating protein. It's a class of protein which inactivates ribosome, and we can find this in many plants. But in this research, we use the RAP from Mirabilis jalapa leaves that possesses cytotoxic effect on breast cancer cell lines, but less toxic on normal sites. So we can see that this protein seems to be potential to be a new drug for breast cancers especially. And in this research, we formulate this protein into nanoparticles made from alginate and chitosans, because as we know that protein which administered in our body will be destroyed by the immune system. So we formulate it, and then we conjugate the nanoparticles with the antibody, the anti-EpCAM antibody, for to elevate the selectivity and the specificity of the therapy for the cancer. This the experimental method we use. So briefly, we first optimize it. We do the formula optimization, and then we extracted the RAP from the leaves, and then we do the RAP nanoparticle preparations, and then we conjugate the nanoparticle with anti-EpCAM antibody, and then we characterize the nanoparticle we obtain. So this is the formula optimization. We can see that first we made the matrix for alginate and chitosans to know which concentration give us the best formula or the best solution to be subsequently formulated into a nanoparticle with the protein. So in here, we can see that negative marks means they form the clear solution, and then the single positive marks means that it formed the opalescent particle in the solution, and the double positive marks, it means that they form an aggregation or precipitations of the particle in the solution. So we choose these concentrations, and then we made another matrix for alginate and chitosan formulations. But in this optimization, we use the bovine serum albumin for the protein model before we formulate it with the real protein. So we choose these two concentration. We choose this because this is the ideal concentration that form opalescent particle. And then after the optimization, we do the extraction of the RAP. We extracted the protein from the leaves, and then we extracted with PBS, the phosphate buffersalin. And then after a series of centrifugation, we obtain the protein extract. And before we formulated it into a nanoparticle, we have to determine the activity of the RAP. So we ran it, we mixed the protein with the plasmid, and then we determine the activity by run it through agarose gel. And we can see that in concentration of 0.05 and 0.1 milligram per milliliter protein, they form two bands here, that band 3 here linear DNA, and band 2 here is mixed circular DNA. This is indicated that the protein has the activity to cut the supercoiled DNA into these two kind of to form of DNA. While in the concentration of 0.5 milligram per milliliter, there were no band formed because probably all the DNA had been degraded by the protein. And next, the real preparation of the nanoparticle. So first, we made the nanoparticle by simple, just stir the polymer and the protein, and they spontaneously formed a particle. And after that, we conjugate the particle with the mixture of antibody here, and then they going to dialysis process and the incubation for overnight at 4 degrees of Celsius, and then we obtain the RAP conjugated with antibody nanoparticle, and then the characterization of nanoparticle. So basically, we characterize first. Of course, we did the visual characterization by transmission electron microscope, and we determined the particle size, polydispersity index, and zeta potential by the particle size analyzer. And then we determined the entrapment efficiency by spectrophotometry method. This is the particle size and polydispersity index and zeta potential and entrapment efficiency. So we can see that the particle size here, 122.5 nanometers, is quite ideal to the therapy. And then the polydispersity index here indicate that the nanoparticles were monodispersed. So there were 2 broad size like that. And then zeta potential here show the stability of the nanoparticle. We can see that this value indicate that the nanoparticle quite stable. It couldn't, or it didn't form the aggregation easily. And then the entrapment efficiency showed that the high dose, the quite high dose of protein could be entrapped in the nanoparticle. And this is the TEM visualization. We can see that the nanoparticle morphology is hexagonal, like this, with this size. And we come to the conclusion. We can conclude that the RAP nanoparticles were successfully made using alginate and low viscosity chitogens and were conjugated by anti-EpCAM antibody. And the second conclusion, anti-EpCAM conjugated nanoparticles were promising to be tested further for their cytotoxic activity and developed to later to be a targeted therapy for breast cancer. And last but not least, of course, I would like to say my gratitude to Indonesia Torres Science Foundation for funding this research. And of course, for my 2 supervisors, Professor Sismindari and Dr. Ronnie Martin from the Faculty of Pharmacy. And of course, my best 3 teammates who sits there. They are Desi, and they are Muhammad Radifar and Anggun Feranisa for their tremendous help in this research. So I think that was all I can say, and thank you for your attention. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you very much for the excellent presentation. I agree with you that this result is very promising. So what kind of research will you do in the future?
Right now, actually, we are doing in the test cytotoxicity assay to know if the nanoparticles are had a cytotoxic effect or not to the breast cancer cells and comparing to the normal cells.
Okay, is there any question from the audience? Please.
Thank you very much. Do I need to say my name again?
Yes.
My name is Dewa Yuari Murni from Pharmacy Faculty. I would like to know why did you choose EpCAM antibody? Because an EpCAM antibody is not only expressed in breast cancer, but also in normal cells. And also, EpCAM antibody is not commercially available in market, so it must be expensive to use it. So why do you choose EpCAM instead of many other antibody? Okay, thank you very much.
All right, thank you for the question. In this research, we choose the anti-EpCAM antibody because, the EpCAM antibody is expressed in any epithelial cells, and but however, the EpCAM, the protein, is overexpressed in breast cancer cell lines. So it and from the references we have read that the protein, the anti-EpCAM, is a novel target for the breast cancer therapy. For the maybe consideration of the cost or like that, well, I have no right to say about that, I think. I'm sorry.
Okay. Other question or comment? We have still 3 minutes. No other comment? Please, this is very interesting research and study. Okay, if there is no question or comment, I will close this presentation session. Thank you very much for your excellent presentation, and please give applause. For the last session, I would like to invite Yunita Sabrina from Laboratory of Microbiology, Faculty of Medical, Laboratory of Biochemistry, Faculty of Medical, University of Mataram.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, everybody. First of all, I would like to say thank you for the opportunity to speak here. Maybe my presentation will be short because we're already hungry. This is the lunchtime. Okay, my research is the production of recombinant merozoite surface protein 119 or MSP119 from Plasmodium falciparum as malaria vaccine candidate. So, as an introduction, we know that malaria is still a major public health, especially in tropical country like Indonesia, and it goes about 300 to 500 million cases, and with 1 million deaths annually. So it's really problem. And now the difficulty of malaria control is that the efficacy of anti-malarial drug seems limited due there is a high prevalence of multi-drug resistance of the parasite itself. Let's make the development of malaria vaccine and maybe the immunotherapy, passive immunotherapy using antibody will be urgently needed to improve the control of malaria. So this is the malaria vaccine classification. There is a 3 group of malaria vaccine classification. First is the, maybe this one, pre-erythrocytic vaccine, and the second is blood stage vaccine, and the third is transmission blocking vaccine. Our group in Mataram University tried to make antigen as a candidate for malaria vaccine, which include in a blood stage vaccine. The antigen is MSP119. So this antigen is a fragment of MSP1, and this MSP1 carried into newly invaded erythrocyte. And from other research, it found that the serum from individual living in highly malaria endemic area contain the antibody against these fragments. So, and that found that the fragment could inhibit the invasion of merozoite into red blood cell. So it's really a good candidate for malaria vaccine. Now the MSP1 is one of the leading malaria vaccine candidate beside the other like AMA1 or the others. So first we amplify the MSP119. We amplify MSP119 from local isolate of Plasmodium falciparum, and then we design the primers, and you can see the result of the amplification. And then the product PCR then ligated into plasmid, which is PET22B. And why we choose this plasmid? Because this plasmid contain histag sequence, so we can easily purify the protein that expressed. And also the important thing that the PET22B contain a signal peptide. This signal peptide make the protein could express in periplasm, so it will be soluble. That is the very important point. And then after ligated to the PET22B, we transform to the E. coli. We use BL21 codon plus the E. coli. The advantages of using this host cell is that the E. coli BL21 codon plus contain rare codon, so the rare amino acid could be produced in this host cell. So maybe I don't really detail about the research. So after we transform into the E. coli, and then we have to sequence first. So this is the sequence of the MSP1 from local isolate. We compare it, and then we express the antigen in LB mediums, and then we purified the antigen using histag columns. As I said that the PET22B contain the histag, so we can use histag column to purify it. And then we found quite amount of MSP119 in the elution fragment. And also we tested with the Western blotting. So we conducted Western blotting using anti-His antibody as the first antigen, since the proteins contain histag, so it will be bind to the anti-His antibody. And then we found the same protein, which is 90 kilodalton, in the elution fraction. So as summary, we successfully produced recombinant protein MSP119 of Plasmodium falciparum in E. coli in a soluble manner, and then this result could be used to produce a new malaria vaccine to combat the malaria. Thank you very much. Maybe it's really short.
Thank you very much for your excellent presentation. I have a question.
Yes.
What is your plan after this result?
Well, my plan, the final goal is to make a vaccine. Mm-hmm. But the step between that is long, I guess, not maybe 3 or 4 times, maybe 10 years, I mean. So for the short future, we will improve the purification, so we will express really pure MSP19 antigen. And then we will try first in a preclinical trial, and then after that if we succeed, and then in clinical trial. But as I said, it will take time.
Okay. Thank you very much. Is there any question from the audience, please? No, the behind you, because she raised. Okay.
Can you show me for the last result, the last slide? Oh, before summary. Before summary.
Sorry.
The last slide. Yeah,
this one?
This one.
Okay.
I just want to ask about the technique. For LYSET, if we use SDS page, it is difficult to run the LYSET to the SDS page. What is the technique before we electrophoresis the LYSET to the SDS page? Should we, because if we use E. coli, if we want to get the protein recombinant, we have to sonicate it, right?
Yes, we have to sonicate it.
Yeah, and then for the LYSET itself, and after sonicated, we have to centrifuge it, and we use the supernatant, not the LYSET. I want to know about how you can run the LYSET to SDS page, not the supernatant. Even in the line 3 until 12, you use the supernatant.
Yes.
And then the second question is before this slide, the slide before this, can you show it?
Oh.
Maybe it's related to the technique. I think this is not the purification result from histag column, because I know that as I know that after we get the purification product, there is no other protein band in the SDS page. We only get one band for the specific target protein recombinant, but you saw us that there is a lot of unspecific band after we purified it with histag column. That's all. Thank you very much.
Okay, I will try to answer the question. So maybe from the last question, since we are in this slide. So as you know, that histag could be contained in other protein, even in E. coli. So you will not really get a very pure band in a first purification, since other protein might contain histag, since it's only 6 histidine. So it also and also the column itself, it's not really specific to 6 histag, like 3 histag or 4 histag could be binded, and then you will elute it. That's why sometimes you will get other band. But maybe in your case, you get the very good band. Maybe you are lucky. So your other protein is not contained in the sequence. And for the first question, LYSET, I mean the supernatant, I'm sorry. So after sonication, and then we centrifuge, and we take the supernatant, so the soluble form, and then I run it in the SDS page. But also you can also compare the supernatant with the pellet. But you have to remember to really dilute it, so it will be the same kekeruhan. Jadi harus sama kekeruhannya, same kekeruhan, sehingga dapat di-compare. You can compare it. I'm sorry.
Okay, for the next question, I will give.
Thank you. My name is Heni from Erlangga University. My first question is, why did you use MSP119? Because there are many MSP1 with. Why did you choose? Because there are many MSP1 with other molecular weight. I don't remember which one, but yes. They are also malaria vaccine candidate.
Yes.
The second question is, you are using local Plasmodium falciparum isolate, NTB isolate, right?
Yes.
Yes. As we know, the malaria vaccine that has been produced long time ago, and the application in different geographical area is different. For example, in Africa, the result was good, but in Solomon it's only partially. In Thailand, it didn't work. So my question is, what do you expect by using the local isolate? Thank you.
Okay, thank you for the question. For the second question, I will answer. Why we use the local isolate? It's really exactly what you say. That our group wants to be the vaccine that we produce will be effective, specific for our local area, like NTB maybe or Indonesia. That's why we choose the local isolate. And then for the first question, I'm sorry, could you... I'm sorry. Yes, why we choose MSP 119? Yes, I know that MSP 1, there is several fragments. There is maybe 48 or something, and then 19. Since from other results show that the MSP 119 could prevent the merozoite to inhibit the erythrocyte. So we found it really interesting, so we tried to produce this one. And actually, we try to find others, not only this one.
Okay, the time is up.
Oh.
So I think we can discuss again later after this session with the presenter. Okay, thank you very much for your presentation. Please give big applause for her. This is the end of the first session. I think the drug and vaccine research in Indonesia nowadays is improved very rapidly. However, as an Indonesian researcher, we still should struggle to discover new drug and vaccine originated from Indonesia. Thank you very much for your attention and also your active participation in this session. The times I give to MC.
Thank you so much,
very much,
Dr. Hangoro. Yeah. Okay, that was wonderful presentation by all the presenters. It was really excited and it was really informative as well. So we will be having the round 2 of the oral presentation after the lunch. So the participants who will be participating in round 2 are displayed on the screen. Maya Tejasari, can I ask her to raise the hand if she is available inside the auditorium? Maya Tejasari?
Maya?
I think she is not available. Okay, the second is Yuniarthi. Miss Yuniarthi. Okay. DC Wanda Partivi, Angun Faranisa, Johannes C. Vibovo, Yoga Mulia Pratama, Vahayu Hidayati.
Nofi Hila. Yes.
Okay, so be prepared after the lunch for the presentations.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, before we proceed to our next agenda, our committee have been prepared lunch outside this room. So you are welcome to enjoy the meals and drinks. And for additional information, there are 2 flyers has been prepared in the registration desk. And especially for presenter who have willingness to submit particular research in Tropical Medicine Journal. Thank you very much. Enjoy your meal and see you
after 1 hour.
1 hour from now. Thank you.